The 23rd of May, 1899, Volume 2. Sweetness, Detachment from Oneself. This time my adorable Jesus wanted to play a little bit. He would come. He would show he wanted to listen to me. But as I would begin to speak, he would disappear from me like a flash. Oh, what pain! While my heart was swimming in this most bitter pain of Jesus' distance, and it was almost a little reckless, Jesus came back again, telling me, "What is it? What is it? More peaceful, more calm. Speak, speak. What do you want?" But the moment I spoke, he disappeared. I did as much as I could to calm myself, but no. After a while, my heart returned to being unable to give itself peace without its only and sole comfort, and maybe more than before. Coming back again, Jesus told me, "My daughter, sweetness has the virtue of making things change their nature. It knows well how to convert bitter into sweet, therefore more sweet, more sweet." But he gave me no time to say a word, and this is how I spent the morning. After this, I felt I was outside of myself, together with Jesus. There were many people. Some aspired to riches, some to honour, some to glory, and some even to sanctity and many other things, but not for God, but rather to be considered someone by creatures. Turning to them, shaking his head, Jesus said, "Foolish you are working your own net to entangle yourselves." Then turning to me, he told me, "My daughter, this is why the first thing I recommend is detachment from all things, and also from oneself. When the soul has detached herself from everything, she has no need to struggle in order to stay away from all the things of the earth which by themselves come around her, but rather, in seeing themselves ignored and even more despised, saying goodbye to her, they take leave of her to bother her no more." End of the reading. The 23rd of May, 1905, Volume 6. In order not to feel disturbance, the soul must found herself well in God. This morning I found myself outside of myself, and I felt someone in my arms with his head leaning on my shoulder. I could not manage to see who he was, so I pulled him by force, saying to me, "Tell me at least who you are." And he, "I am the All." On hearing him say he was the All, I said, "And I am the Nothing. See, Lord, how right I am that this Nothing must remain united with the All. Otherwise it would be like a handful of dust which the wind scatters away." In the meantime, I saw someone who was doubtful and was saying, "How is it that for every slightest thing one feels so much disturbance?" And I, through a light that came from blessed Jesus, said, "In order not to feel disturbance, the soul must found herself well in God, tend to God with all of herself as though to one single point, and look at the other things with indifferent eyes. But if she does otherwise, in everything she does, sees or hears, she will feel her soul invested with a disquiet, like those slow fevers that make the soul all worn out, disturbed, unable herself to make head or tail of anything." End of the reading. The 23rd of May, 1918, Volume 12. The Flights of the Soul in the Divine Will. This morning my sweet Jesus did not come, so I spent it amid sighs, anxieties, and bitternesses, though all immersed in his will. As the night came, I could not take any more, so I called him again and again. My eyes could not close. I felt restless. I wanted Jesus at any cost. At that point he came and said to me, "My dove, who can say the flights that you take in my will, the space that you cover, the air that you swallow, No one, not even you would be able to say it. I alone can say it, who measure the fibres, I who count the flights of your thoughts, of your heartbeats. And as you fly, I see the hearts that you touch. But do not stop, fly to more hearts and knock again and again. Then fly over again, and on your wings bring my I love you to more hearts to make me loved. And then in one flight come to my heart to take refreshment, to start all over again with more rapid flights. I amuse myself with my dove, and I call the angels and my mamma to amuse themselves with me. But do you know, I'm not telling you everything. The rest I will tell you in heaven. Oh, how many surprising things I will tell you. Then he placed his hand on my forehead and said, I leave you the shadow of my will, the breath of my volition. Sleep. And I fell asleep. End of the reading. The 23rd of May, 1923, Volume 15. The will of God is fullness, and one who lives in it must centralise everything within herself. His privations continue, and as my sweet Jesus made himself seen just a little, I said to him, Tell me, my love, where have I offended you, that you run far away from me? My heart is bleeding because of the bitterness of the pain. And Jesus, have you perhaps withdrawn from my will? And I, no, may heaven free me from such a misfortune. And he, and why then do you ask me where you have offended me? Only when a soul withdraws from my will, then does sin enter. My daughter, in order to take full possession of my will, you must centralize all the interior states of all creatures within yourself. And as you move from one interior state to another, you take dominion over it. This happened in my memory and in my very humanity. How many pains, how many states of souls were centralized in us? Several times my dear Mama remained in the state of pure faith, and my moaning humanity was almost crushed under the enormous weight of all the sins and pains of all creatures. But while I suffered, I remained with the dominion of all the goods opposite to those sins and pains of creatures, and my dear Mama became Queen of Faith, of Hope and of Love, and Dominator of Light, to the extent of being able to give faith, hope, love, and light to all. In order to be able to give, it is necessary to possess, and in order to possess, it is necessary to centralize those pains within oneself, and with resignation and love, change pains into goods, darkness into light, coldness into fire. My will is fullness, and one who must live in it must acquire the dominion of all possible, imaginable goods, as much as is possible for a creature. How many goods can I not give to all? And how many can my inseparable Mamma not give? And if we do not give more, it is because there is no one who takes them, because we suffered everything. And while we were on earth, our dwelling was the fullness of the divine will. Now it is your turn to follow our same path and to dwell where we dwelt. Do you think that to live in our will is something trivial or just like any other life, even holy? No, it is the all. In it, one must embrace everything. And if something escapes, you cannot say that you live in the fullness of our will. Therefore, be attentive and always follow your flight in my eternal volition. End of the reading. The 23rd of May, 1926, Volume 19. The divine will is seed of life, and wherever it enters, it produces life and sanctity. Just as the Virgin had her time, the one who must impetrate the supreme fiat also has her time. I was accompanying my sweet Jesus in his sorrowful agony in the garden, especially when all the weight of our sins unloaded itself upon his most holy humanity, to the point of making him shed living blood. Oh, how I would have wanted to relieve him from pains so excruciating. And while I compassionated his whole being, he told me, "My daughter, my will has the power to give death and to give life. And since my humanity knew no other life but the life of my divine will, as the sins crowded over me, my will made me feel a distinct death for each sin. My humanity moaned under the weight of the real death which my supreme will gave me. But over that very death which this divine will gave me, it made the new life of grace rise again for creatures. So, as evil and bad as a creature might be, if she has the fortune of letting one act of my will enter into herself, even at the point of death, since my will is life, it sows the seed of life in the soul. And as she possesses this seed of life, there is great hope that the soul may be saved, because the power of my will be careful so that this act of life of its own, which has entered the soul, may not perish and turn into death. In fact, my will has the power to give death, but my will itself and all of its acts are untouchable and not subject to any death. Now, if one act alone of my will contains the seed of life, what will not be the fortune of one who embraces within her soul not one act alone, but continuous acts of my will? This creature receives not just the seed, but the fullness of life, and places her sanctity in safety. Then afterwards my poor mind was wandering in the holy divine will, doing my usual acts in it. It seemed to me that everything was mine, and as I went around through all created things to impress everywhere my I love you, my adoration, my glory to my Creator, I acquired new knowledge of what God has done for the creature and of how much He has loved us. The Supreme Will seemed to delight in making known the new surprises of His love, so that I might follow its acts in order for it to give me the right to possess what has come out of its creative will. My littleness wandered amid its immense goods. In the meantime, my sweet Jesus came out from within my interior and told me, "My daughter, when my Queen Mama came out to the light of the day, everyone was turned toward her, and as though having one single gaze, all pupils looked at she who was to dry their tears by bringing to them the life of the longed-for Redeemer. All creation was centred in her, feeling honoured to obey her wishes. The divinity itself was all for her and all intent on her, in order to prepare her and to form in her, with surprising graces, the space into which the eternal Word was to descend to take on human flesh. If the virtue were not present within us, that while we operate, deal with, or speak with one creature, we do not neglect the others, or would have said to us, leave all of us aside, think of this Virgin, give, centralize everything in her, that she may let the one come in whom our hopes, our life, all of our good are placed. Therefore, the time in which the Sovereign Queen came out to the light of day can be called the time of my Mama. This, my daughter, can be called your time. All are turned toward you. I hear the voice of all, as if it were one alone praying me, pressing me, that my will may acquire its absolute divine rights over you, so that acquiring its total dominion, it may pour into you all the fullness of goods it had established to give if the creature had not withdrawn from my will. So the whole of heaven, the celestial Mama, the angels and saints, all are turned toward you for the triumph of my will, because their glory in heaven will not be complete if my will does not have its complete triumph on earth. Everything was created for the total fulfillment of the supreme will, and until heaven and earth return into this circle of the eternal volition, they feel their works, their glory and beatitude as though halved. because not having found its complete fulfillment in the creation, the divine will cannot give what it had established to give. That is, the fullness of its goods, of its effects, joys, and happinesses which it contains. This is why they are all longing. My will itself is all for you and intent on you. It holds nothing back of graces, of light, and of whatever it takes to form in you the greatest of prodigies, which is its fulfillment and its total triumph. Which one do you think is a greater prodigy? That a little light remains enclosed in the sun, or that the sun remains enclosed in the little light? And it would certainly be more prodigious if the little light enclosed the sun, and indeed it seems impossible to me that this may happen. And Jesus, what is impossible for the creature is possible for God. The little light is the soul, and my will is the sun. Now my will must give so much to the little light as to be able to make of it a circle and be enclosed in it. And since the nature of light is to spread its rays everywhere, while remaining in triumph within this circle, it will spread its divine rays to give the life of my will to all. This is the prodigy of prodigies, which the whole of heaven longs for. Therefore give broad field to my will, be opposed in nothing, so that what was established by God in the work of creation may have its fulfillment. End of the reading. The 23rd of May, 1937, volume 34. How the divine will is order and peace, and this is the sign where it reigns. One who lives in the divine volition is always renewed in divine sanctity, love, and freshness, and in her act runs the creating and growing act of the divine goods. The sea of the divine volition continuously murmurs, but with such harmony, order, and peace. Its waves, although very high, are always peaceful, and as they invest creatures, heaven and earth, first they give them an embrace and kiss of peace, and then they enter into their souls. If they do not receive the kiss of peace, it seems that they pass on, because where there is no peace, it is not suitable for the divine volition. There is no place for it. But while my mind was lost in this sea, my always lovable Jesus, visiting my little soul with a divine sweetness and peace, told me, my blessed daughter, my will is order, and the sign, if it reigns in the soul, is perfect order that generates peace. In fact, peace is the daughter of order. Order is the immediate and generated by my fiat Son. But do you know the great good that order produces? It gives the dominion to the creature and renders her dominator of herself, dominator of all created things. And since her dominion is divine, because it is generated by my volition, she dominates over my own will and over everyone. But this is not yet everything. The virtue of order is admirable. She binds herself with everyone. She gives herself to everyone. And with its peaceful and dominating waves, she takes and makes hers the strength of creation, that of the saints who are in heaven, the very divine strength. She makes it hers. Her ordered and peaceful ways are so penetrating and insinuating that everyone lets her do it, also because she has given herself to everyone, and she has not kept anything for herself. It is just that everyone gives themselves to her. Therefore she feels in herself the peace, the joy, the happiness of the celestial sojourn. Everyone feels themselves united, bound with inseparable union, because what unites my will is not subject to separation. So the true order brings the union, the accord with everyone, and she has a place in everyone, and everyone will find a little place in her, because she will love with that same love with which her Creator himself loves them. These are the prodigies that my omnipotent fiat knows how to do where it reigns. It does not know how to do anything other than works that resemble it, and they generate in the soul the effects that form its life itself, so much so that no one will be able to object to anything. And I must be able to say, no one touches her but me, nor will they be able to touch her, because it is my will, and if someone would dare to, I will know how to defend myself. My love will convert for them into fire of justice, and I will humiliate them even to the dust. Therefore be attentive that everything is order and peace in you. If you notice something to the contrary, place yourself on guard and pray to me, press me, that with my dominion I knock down everything that is not order and perennial peace. So I continued to think about the divine will, and my sweet Jesus added, my daughter, as the creature calls my will into her acts in order to live in it, it invests the creature and her act with its creative strength and renews its divine life. And suppose that she calls it while she is operating. Listen to what my volition does. It calls in act however many times she has operated. It unites them together as if they were one act alone, and placing its creative strength, it transforms into divine everything that she has done and is doing. It seals there the sanctity of its works and gives her new merit and glory, as if it would have operated everything again for love of her. If she loves, it calls to life however many times she has loved, and makes of it one love alone. If she suffers, it calls to life however many times she has suffered. It unites them together and places there the seal of the divine sufferings and gives her the new merit for however many times she has loved and suffered. In sum, everything that she has done and repeated, everything returns in act by uniting themselves together in order to receive the new beauty, sanctity, grace, freshness, love, and new merit. In my will, there are no separated nor divided acts, but highest unity. Everything must give of me, with this difference only, that in the creature there is our creating and growing act, while our supreme being is not subject to either increasing or decreasing. So much is our fullness, immensity, and infinity, that in order to vent our love, we feel the need of giving and of loving creatures and of being loved, but without diminishing in anything. This is why we are all eyes. We are as on guard in order to see when she wants to live in our volition, so as to have the occasion of loving her even more and enriching her with our love in order to receive love. We can say that we cover her with our divine being. We harmonize her with us in order to enjoy ourselves with her, to give her of ours. And when she, shaken by the fever of our love, by our burning breath that continuously tells her, I love you, our daughter, and she makes our echo hers and repeats to us, I love you, life of my life, love of my love, my Father, my Creator, my all, I love you. She places us in feast and gives us the pure joys that we want because we have given her life. Therefore, we want her in our will, so as to have her as we want her, in order to give her what we want to give to her, and in order to receive what we want from her. Outside of our fiat, our love for her remains hindered. There is such separation between her and us that she arrives at feeling herself far from us, and we far from her. And she arrives at fearing us and being afraid of us. Human will, where it casts a creature whom I love so much from me. End of the reading. There are no more readings today.